Danielle Matthews here. I'm a post-traumatic growth specialist. I love helping people turn their pain into their purpose. And every single Monday we have had book club. We are doing a book club on Dr. Wayne Dyer's work, The Power of Intention. And this is something that I somehow had never read any of Wayne Dyer's work. And I have been blown away. I mean, I know of him, I've heard wonderful things, but I've never had the chance myself to read any of his work. And so we have been for the last month going through this. This is now week number 5, and I'm really excited. Chapter 5 was all about your impact on others when connected to intention. Now, honestly, guys, if you're not reading the book with us and you're just catching me live, stick around because this conversation, you can pick up any chapter of this book and learn something and take, things to a new level for yourself. So I'm just going to give everybody a little bit of time to find us. I know sometimes it takes a little while for me to show up on Facebook. So if you're there with me on Facebook, if you can say hello, I can make sure you're there. I see Carol over here on Instagram. Good morning. I see Kathy. Good morning. Hey, Ivani. Glad you guys are here. If you missed the memo in Telegram, we are going to be doing a meditation directly following our discussion today in book club. So the vote was that we wanted to meditate. A lot of what Wayne Dyer talks about is the power of using meditation as a tool. Some people have never meditated before. Some people say they can't do it. Some people can't stand it. Some people love it. Hey, Larry. Okay, good. I'm glad to know that Facebook's working and you guys are finding me over there. So meditation will just be at 12:30 Eastern. So just directly following this conversation. I've got the meditation ready for us and really excited to do that. So we'll step just straight into that, after this, following this. So with that, let's dive into book club things. We're on chapter 5, so if you have the physical book, you can grab it out. There were several things that I just underlined while going through this. I don't know about you, but there were several one-liners that just smacked me. So I wanted to spend some time with them. Now, what this was all about was the impact we have on others when we connect to intention, when we connect to that source, right? When we connect to the divine. And so basically he says, you'll begin seeing in others what you're feeling in yourself. And remember, the whole time he's talking to us about the 7 faces of intention, which can we collectively list them out? So what were some of hey Peg, good to see you. What are some of the faces of intention? Do you guys remember? So this whole thing is when we're connecting with these faces of intention, these aspects, and bringing them to light, we're going to have them. We're also going to start seeing them in others. So creativity was one. You guys are probably flipping through your books, right? We should be living these now. Creativity is one. We know that kindness, that was one that I've been working on over the last, since we started this, is acts of kindness with no expectation of anything coming back. We know that another is love, coming from a space of love. We know that intention is also beauty. So love, creativity. Thank you, Peg. Who else has the rest? Anybody know the rest? So beauty was number one. That's 4 of them. So the other ones, right, are expansion, abundance, and receptivity to all, right? This non-judgmental, all-allowing space. That is intention. That is what we are cultivating. And he says all he perceives is others' divine worth, which is what you will also start to see as you connect to the power of intention. I mean, how beautiful if you could just walk around in life, seeing each other, one another, everyone you meet as a piece of the divine. I think it's beautiful. It's what I want to do and encourage all of you to do it. So many of you are part of ASEA. So we all are in business together. And I feel like so much of this translates into business. If you're not in business, this translates into every aspect of your life, as we know, but relationships. And one thing I wanted to draw your attention to on page 91 is this statement. It's the end of that top paragraph. So he says, treat them as the divine expression of the power of intention, wanting nothing from them. The irony is that they become co-creators, manifesting all your desires. Want nothing from them, demand nothing from them, have no expectations for them, and they will return the kindness. If you demand from them, if you insist that they please you, if you judge them as inferior, and if you see them as servants, you will receive the same in return. It behooves you to be acutely aware of what you truly want for others and to know whether you're in a holy or unholy relationship with everyone that you're involved with. He talked a lot about this holy, unholy. I love that. Yes, we do power all potential in a yeah, well said. But this is so true in business. Have no expectation of another when you get into a conversation. Have no judgment based on what they do or don't do. Right? Can you just be all allowing for what is? I have found when I'm in that space with people, they come toward me rather than get pushed away from me. And I'm curious if any of you have felt that, or maybe it's been hard to be in that space. But that's a really powerful thing. And I think, I just came back from meditation with Gurudev this morning. He does it every Monday morning. You all are welcome to it. It's on Amrit Yoga Institute's YouTube channel at 11 a.m. Eastern every Monday. But he was talking about the exact same thing this morning, saying, stop expecting other people to show up in a certain way. You're studying this work. They're not. So they might not realize, they might not return your kindness with kindness. They might not see what you're seeing. Hey, Ron, hola. So make sure that you are not caring, but extending compassion to them, right? Because they don't know what you know yet. What I want to do, like I said, today there's so many one-liners I thought would just this chapter was full of them. So if you guys pulled anything, please put it in the chat. But for me, I'm just going to keep kind of bouncing some of the nuggets that I thought were really good. So number 92, he says, when you can celebrate differences in others as interesting or enjoyable, you're loosening your identity with ego. So we know ego is super tricky, right? Ego is what pops up when we get into fear. When we get into judgmental space, when we have preferences, when we choose one or the other. That's all ego stuff. But a lot of times ego comes up as we look and perceive others as well. And he's saying, celebrate the differences. When you start to just be super interested and find everyone enjoyable, that's love. That's connecting to beauty. That's connecting to all things, all the faces of intention. This is going to help you loosen your identity with your own ego, which the ego is all the problems that we have as humans can be kind of, in my opinion, rooted as ego problems. I don't know if that jumped at anyone else, but that was one that I was like, oh yeah, because I'm totally always looking for all these ways that I can stop letting the ego, trick me, because it's a tricky little guy. Peg is saying the power of our intention is to lift others. Is so amazing. The power of our intention to lift others is amazing. Yeah, it is. I mean, the end of this chapter, when he's talking about all this, we got to get to that. We're going to bounce here because the end was amazing. The impact each of you can have on everybody. But some other things that I pulled out. If you're seeing yourself as either inferior or superior, you've disconnected from the power of intention. Remember, how you view others is a projection of how you view yourself. Yeah. I love Juliet saying one of the things she pulled out was, when you meet anyone, treat the event as a holy encounter. Absolutely. And bring that so fully into it. Absolutely. I love this idea of holy relationships. When you connect with another human being and see them for the divine self, right? Not an object in your way, not from an egotistical way, but from your divine self, you can open up so many doors. It's amazing what people would do for you when you see them for who they are, right? And he talked about some examples that, he's had of that. I'm sure you've all had examples of that. But I just think it's really fascinating to just reflect on how you view other people is a projection of the view you have of yourself. How amazing is that? And how difficult is that sometimes to take in and swallow? Because sometimes we don't want to admit to that. But I think again, these are all ways to just massage out the ego and connect in with intention. And these are beautiful ways to do it. So Peg was saying that on page 106, the statistics that show the effect of our attitude and intention. Yeah, we'll certainly talk about that because it's phenomenal. I want to go page 96. I thought was worth repeating. So I'm going to, today apparently is just a little bit more like reading and sinking in than usual, but that's okay. So 96, at the top of the page, one of the most effective means for transcending ordinary and moving into the realm of extraordinary is saying yes more frequently and eliminating no almost completely. I call it saying yes to life. Say yes to yourself, to your family, to your children, to your coworkers, to your business. Ordinary says no. Ordinary says, I don't think I can do it. No, that won't work. No, I've tried that and it's never worked before. No, the intention is impossible for me. With the idea of no, you attract more of no, and your impact on others whom you could help on or on whom you could rely on for help is also a no. So shout yes to everyone as often as you can. And when someone seeks your permission to try something, before saying no, ask yourself if you want that person to stay at ordinary levels of living. You guys probably seen that movie Yes Day, right? Where they just say yes to the kids. I think it's beautiful. I remember when I first started my business, it's the same thing I did. I said yes to every opportunity. I said yes to every human being that suggested anything, and doors opened, sometimes 5 connections later. But it's like you can't steer a parked car. You can't expect something to happen if you're not in motion. And so you need to start moving yourself, saying yes to life, so that can happen. Carol is saying, sometimes I'm hard on myself, which I'm realizing is my ego. Yes, indeed. Yes, we need to be gentle on ourselves. Ron is saying, I didn't get a chance to read, but still wanted to connect to the community. Instead of saying struggling with my health, I will say grateful for the healing process. Good, Ron. And that's okay, because today I'm reading for you. So that's why it worked out that way, Ron. There was a bunch of chunks of this that I wanted to just pull out. And yeah, that reframe. Right, and always connecting to that. He talked a little bit about health in this as well. Peg says we can truly only see in others what we already have within. Yeah. And if you want to see the 7 faces of intention, that's why I said at the beginning, you will start to see that when you cultivate it within yourself. And living from yes opens so many opportunities. Agreed, it does. He says, the universal force of intention never complains. It creates and offers its options for greatness. It judges no one and isn't stuck wishing and hoping that things will improve. It's too busy creating beauty to be so foolishly engaged. Where is your focus going? I love that Ron is redirecting his focus from being frustrated with the struggle of healing to saying he's grateful that the process is moving forward, right? That healing is occurring and that his body is moving. And whatever lessons are supposed to be learning right now, he's learning, right? So I wanted to spend a little bit of time, he talked a lot about how you'll impact other people when you resonate from the space of intention, right? When you resonate with the divine, when you resonate with those 7 faces. And I think this is so fascinating. Like, we live in these worlds where we think, it's just us. And it is amazing the impact we have on other people. Like, a simple smile even can change so much. And like what he's revealing to us here in this chapter is that you will literally shift other people's energy levels. You can pull them up. We've been talking a lot about holding this space because higher energies cause lower energies to move up there, right? It cancels them out. You don't get pulled down. If you're getting pulled down, it's because you're not holding a high energy space. You need to hold that. What's this over here? So looking deeply within and sharing ourselves can give others direction and help them recognize the divine within them. Absolutely. So we'll just kind of bounce on this a little bit. Some of the impacts that it can have. And I want you to reflect, like, who are you around that when you're around them, you feel calm? I remember when I met my boyfriend, that was like, when I was in his presence, when I first met him, it was like, I just felt this like felt very grounded, very calm. And what he's saying is people tend to feel more at peace and less threatened and more at ease when you yourself are connected to intention. He says, think of impacting others like gravity, with no need to move against or attack anyone. People who feel empowered by your presence become kindred spirits. That can only happen if they feel safe rather than attacked, secure rather than judged, calm rather than harassed, right? When there's just no expectation, you just are, and you're letting people come into that space. Juliet is saying, become aware of your identification with normal or ordinary and begin to vibrate to higher energetic frequencies, which constitute a shift upward into the extraordinary dimensions of pure intent. That's from page 97. Yeah, that is wonderful. But you have to become aware of what you're identifying with. You absolutely have to. And vibrating at higher frequencies, right? It's just connecting in with these 7 faces of intention. Creativity, resonating in a space of kindness, love, beauty, expansion, abundance, receptivity, right? Those 7 things is what we're constantly bringing ourselves to. Peg says, clearly this is what happens for you every morning in your yoga practice, Danielle. Yes, you got to get to that space. All right. He also mentions that when we're in that space, you will help others feel energized in your presence, right? I love that Ron said he came here today to our live, to our book club. Why? Because he knew connecting to this community would help him. Why? Because we're connected to these 7 faces of intention. And in doing that, our energy is higher. When we have a higher frequency, we're pulling him up. So collectively, we're pulling Ron up today, which is just absolutely beautiful. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. So he says about that, he says, you don't have to say a word. You don't have to act in any prescribed fashion. Your energy of intention alone will make others in your field feel as if they've mysteriously been empowered. So very grateful, Ron, that you are here and that you chose to come here because you knew that energy exchange would be here. Now, he also said your presence allows others to feel better about themselves. Who is that for you? Like, who do you get around that actually pulls you up, makes you feel like the best version of you? I have several spiritual teachers that's what they do for me, right? They pull me into that space. And he says people will sense that you care about them, that you understand them, and are interested in them as unique individuals. With this kind of connection to intention, you're less likely to focus conversation on yourself and using others to massage your ego. I don't know where I read it, but there was a guy, maybe it'll come to me where I read this, but basically he sat next to somebody on the plane and he spent the entire plane ride asking questions about the other guy. And then there was someone waiting at the end when the dude that was sitting there got off the plane. And, they said, how was your flight? How was, the passenger next to you? And he said, I sat next to the most interesting guy. And it's like so interesting because that guy didn't do anything but hold space, right? And make that guy feel super important and feel like, this is great. And, Peg, thank you. Peg says, I do that for her. But yeah, think about who makes you feel better about yourself. Connect with them more, get in their space more, be in their presence more, figure out how you can. Find communities like this where you can. That's what I've loved about ASEA. I mean, being part of that global community is just a lot of people looking to do good in the world, and they push me and they help me. That's the space I cultivate on the team as well. That's what I love to do. So now my next question for you is, who do you want to be that for? Like, who would you love to be able to, just by being around them, they feel like the best version of themselves? Is it your kids? Is it your partner? Do you lead a team? Is it your team at ASEA? Like, what is it? Peg says, I spent the last 3 days with Lisa Nichols, and she totally brings her light in such profound ways. Yeah, that was the most powerful Women in Network Marketing conference, I think. She's amazing. So another thing, your presence allows others to feel unified. The effect of being in the presence of people expressing higher frequencies is to feel unified and connected to all of nature, all of humankind, and all of intention. Have you guys ever felt that when you've been in this space or you've been around, someone that just holds a very high frequency? It's like you walk outside and all of a sudden the trees seem brighter, right? The animals you feel connected to, like there's just, you start to see it and feel it everywhere. I hope if you've never been in that space, I think after meditation, you might find yourself in that space, which we'll be doing meditation in about 10 minutes. So I'm excited about that. Some of the other things, which again, just like amazing that we can help people do this. You can help people get instilled in their sense of purpose. Your presence and behavior from a space of love, acceptance, non-judgment, and kindness will become a catalyst for others to feel on purpose in their lives. Right? How many of you have ever been to a big convention? Peg just went to the Most Powerful Women in Network Marketing over the weekend. This is something that will literally ignite this fire in you. Yes, so Candy says, I was on that conference as well. Powerful group of women, right? That is something that just is going to lift and shift you. This is why I tell everybody on my team, always go to convention, right? Always get connected in with these things. Will meditation be recorded? It's going to be live, so you can always come back to the live for sure. Maybe what we'll do is we'll end this live and then we'll start a new one to do meditation. Lou's saying, great group of women too. Yeah, that is a good space. Your presence allows others to trust in the authentic personal connections. By bringing the traits of intention to others, you allow trust to be present. So I think that's what the space is here, right? Authentic connection. Conversations are game changers. Hey, Julie, good to see you on here. All right, your presence inspires others to greatness. I would say that that's probably what happened this weekend for those of you that were at that convention. The word inspiration means in spirit. The fact that you are primarily in spirit, meaning you, when you're connected to the 7 faces of intention, the fact that you are primarily in spirit means that you inspire rather than inform with your presence. When you are in spirit, you inspire others. How beautiful is that? I mean, that's like amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now the next one. I think this is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Pygmalion effect, but I wanted to talk about that. But this gets at it. He says, your presence aligns others with beauty. At the higher energy of intent, you see beauty in everyone, young or old, rich or poor, dark or light, with no distinctions. Everything is perceived from a perspective of appreciation rather than judgment, because you're just appreciating the beauty all around. As you bring this feeling of beauty, appreciation to the presence of others, people are inclined to see themselves as you see them. Can you imagine? So if all you're doing is seeing the divine in others, people are going to start seeing the divine within themselves. How amazing is that? And there's this concept of the Pygmalion effect where like a researcher went in. Who's familiar with the Pygmalion effect? Just like put a 1 if you know what it is. I guess you don't. Okay, so I'm not seeing any ones. All right, let's talk about it. So the Pygmalion effect, basically a researcher went into Juliet knows. Okay, went into like I think it was the first grade classroom, and at the beginning of the year gave a test to the kids, tells the teacher there are spurters. There's this group of kids in your class, like 10 of them, that are performing below where they should, but really they're super intelligent. You know, they have a high capacity. And anyway, so they tell the teacher who these 10 people are. And then school year goes by, researcher comes back at the end of the year, looks at, all the students in the class, and those 10 had spurted. They were outperforming everybody. And then the researcher says to the teacher, I didn't give them a test. I randomly picked those 10 individuals. There was nothing to say that they were any better than the rest of them. The only difference was how you treated them. The level that the teacher held them to, saying, hey, I'm expecting you, because I believe that you have more capacity than you're showing. I'm expecting you to show it, and was pulling them to this higher version of themselves and actually pulled out that was within them, which is actually within all of us, right? Larry remembers the story. I shared this at convention last year when I spoke. So this is something that I always say, look, as a leader of my team, I do the same thing. I only see the best in people. I don't let people drag me into their story. I'm like, you got 30 seconds to complain to me, and then I'm done. Right? I'm going to keep bringing you back to the highest version of yourself. I'm going to keep reminding you of the 7 faces of intention. And what he's saying is we can do that. When we start to see the beauty, the divine, the divinity in one another, they start to see that in themselves. And how amazing is that? Like absolutely amazing. So remember that. And this, I think that's what he's getting at in this chapter. Your presence instills health rather than sickness. So this is great. So see, Ron, you're in the right place. You know that your physical self is inspired by a divine force that beats its heart, digests its food, and grows its fingernails, and that this same force is receptive to endlessly abundant health, Julie, Ron, we're sending this to both of you. When you bring to the presence of others a healthy appreciation for the miracle that your body represents, you diffuse their efforts to dwell on disease, ill health, and deterioration. Lou says, similar story regarding locker numbers instead of IQ. The teachers misinformed, however, students rose to the level of expectation. Interesting. I've not heard that story. That's amazing, though. So this last bit, guys, this is what Peg was getting at, and I'm just looking at time so we can kind of jump to it. It's realizing the effect of this. So I don't know if you guys have ever read Power versus Force with Dr. David Hawkins. Put a P in the chat if you've done that. Have you read Power versus Force? This is one of the first books a mentor of mine gave me, and I read it and I was like, what? I didn't know you could do this. It's all about muscle testing and just like this amazing way that you can communicate with what brings you, strength and what weakens your body. Yeah, Peg's like, it's a must read. Yeah, for sure. Christy's read it. Nice. Yeah, I need to go back to it. I read that probably 8 years ago. It was like maybe 2016. And it was like well before my brain was as developed as it is now with some of these things. I think I'd get a lot more out of it. Peg's got like 6 Ps. Yep. So Dr. Hawkins wrote this book, Power versus Force. And, this is where he says, like, this is how we know you can distinguish things. But he's written a different book, which I didn't know. His second book is called The Eye of the Eye. And through this project, he uses his precise kinesiological testing for truth versus falsehood. He's calibrated the approximate number of people whose energy is at or below the level that weakens them. He also suggests that it's crucial for each of us to be aware of the significance of raising our own frequency of vibration to the level where we begin to match up with the frequency and the energy of the universal source. Or in other words, we make our connection to intention. And what he says, it's bulleted on page 106. Like, woo, yeah, Marie, it's definitely one to read. Next book review, next book club. The name is Power versus Force. And his name is Dr. David Hawkins. Power versus Force. Okay. 87% of humanity, he says, is at a lower energy frequency. 87%, which is mind-boggling. And he says that high energy people counterbalance this, but it's not a one-to-one basis, right? Because if it were, we would implode. Because there wouldn't be enough people to counterbalance the negativity. Here's what he says. He says, when an individual lives and vibrates with the energy of optimism and a willingness to be non-judgmental, they counterbalance the negativity of 90,000 people. 90,000. 90,000 people. Like, I read that and I said, did they have a typo? Like, that is a ton of people that you counterbalance. You can do that just by doing what he's saying. Now, it gets better. If you can resonate from the space of pure love and reverence of all life, you counterbalance 750,000 people. Phenomenal. All right, now, these are next level. He says there's like 22 people at this level in all of the world. An energy that of illumination, bliss, and infinite peace. You counterbalance 10 million people. And then he says individuals who live and vibrate at the energy of grace, pure spirit beyond the body, in a world of non-duality or complete oneness, right? They are in the world but not of it, right? They're in this complete space. He says there's 10 of them alive today. I wish he would have listed them. But he says they counterbalance 70 million people. Are you kidding me? He said if the likes of Lord Krishna, Lord Buddha, or Lord Jesus Christ were around today, they would counterbalance all of mankind with the presence that they held and the energy that they held. That's just like absolutely incredible. And he says the negativity of the entire human population would self-destruct were it not for the counteracting effects of the higher energy fields. And that's what I want to end on, to tell you that you make a difference. The energy that you hold, the work that you do, as you do more inner work, it shifts everybody around you. At first it will start to shift the people in your world, and you don't tell them that you're doing it, right? This is not an ego-driven thing. You just hold the space of it, and they will be like, what's going on? It starts to shift them and it ripples out, and that's the way to do it. And because everything's energy, I had no idea. I literally had no idea. I was like, maybe I impact 5 people, right? 90,000 people. Yes, Peg, the Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa, I'm sure, are one of the 10. I want the list. So I'm going to end with this. By raising your own frequency of vibration only slightly to a place where you regularly practice kindness, love, and receptivity, where you see beauty and the endless potential of good in others as well as yourself, you counterbalance 90,000 people somewhere on this planet who are living at the lower energies of shame, of anger, of hatred, of guilt, of despair, of depression, and so on. You are making that impact. Charlotte, you are very welcome for sharing this. Let's thank Wayne, because it didn't come from me. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible what we have the capacity for. The 5 suggestions for implementation, guys, this is something I would read and reread and read again and reread, and like, oh my goodness. I thought that these were, every chapter ends with suggestions, but I thought these were some of the best. So he also ended with the quote, right, from Gandhi: "We must be the change we wish to see in the world." And I don't know, I've heard that quote. How many people have heard that quote? Like, I've heard that quote 1,000 times, and it hit me differently after reading this chapter. And I literally wrote, not do, but be the change. So when it says we must be the change we wish to see in the world, it's not about doing anything. Like, I always thought, oh, go do something impactful in the world, right? Go make the world a better place. We must be the change. Like, are you guys with me? Do you see that nuance? Because I'm like, it hit me so differently. Be the change. Like, you shift you. You connect to intention. If you are that, you will be the change. So, wow. We will read chapter 6 this next week. That's the end of part 1 of the book. There's 2 parts to the book. So chapter 6 will round out the first half for us, and we'll meet next Monday. How many of you can stay for meditation? Is like Telegram working? I don't know if this is like a good avenue to communicate. I thought it would be the best one, but we're all getting used to actually using Telegram. But in Telegram, I put that we would be doing meditation after today. So are people ready for it? Do we need to push it to next week? Like, can you put a 1 if you're ready for meditation? Because we will literally pivot and change. And meditation, the meditations I do, you lay down. So you need to be able to lay down in a comfy place and just listen. So Lou, Juliet, Ron, you for sure need to do this. Awesome. Robin's ready. Okay, so yeah, there's a handful of you that are ready. Okay. All right, I'm just making sure. Julie's ready. Yay. All right, so let's do like a little break. Just because some people maybe weren't ready, I know I like risk losing you, but come back. All right, so hey, Douglas, you're gonna do meditation with us. Nice. Hey, Doug. All right, a couple people need to come back later. So I'm wondering if I should stop the live and then we start a new one that's meditation. So everybody can go get comfy, and I'll just like literally get back on live here in a minute. So we can have a clean cut, and then you can always come back to meditation and not have to listen to all of this before meditation. So all of you, there's like 10 of you over on Facebook, a couple of you on Instagram. So I'm going to end. I'm going to then come right back on live, and we'll give it like 2 minutes for you to get comfy. So lay down like on a mat, have a pillow, have something under your legs. You definitely want a blanket. Your body temperature drops. I'm going to get your parasympathetic nervous system starting, and that will shift you, and you can get colder. So you literally want to just be comfortable. If that means laying in bed, lay in bed. Nobody can see you. I can't see you. So we will be back. All you Facebookers, I'm going to end and then start right back up, okay? Ron, will I wake up? So this is a good question. It does put people into a very deep state. Some people's bodies then want them to sleep. So if you need to start like put an alarm, maybe put in an alarm. I'll probably keep it to 30 minutes. So you could put an alarm for 35 minutes if you need. Okay. So bye for now. Literally we'll be back in 2 seconds. I'm just going to have a clean break. All right. Bye, Instagram.